How has Israel not pressured or discussed this with the U.S. until now? How has it not happened until now that the U.S. will pressure Qatar and Egypt to get involved, but that kind of involved?
Well, I spoke to some senior Israeli national security and intelligence figures early on in the war, and I said, why aren't you encouraging the then Biden administration to pressure Egypt to let civilians get off the battlefield? In every other conflict, civilians are allowed to get out of the way. In Ukraine, within days of the Russian invasion, about 7 or 8 million Ukrainians went to Poland, Hungary, and other countries, even though Ukraine is big and large parts of Ukraine were in fact safe. In the Syrian war, 3 or 4 million Syrian civilians sought refuge in Turkey, 1 million in Jordan, 500,000 in Lebanon, another million in Germany and Sweden and elsewhere. This is the only conflict where, in a way, the West claims that it cares about Palestinian lives, but it's forcing Palestinian civilians to remain on the battlefield. Now, you could say that we don't know who are civilians or who are in Hamas, but at the very least, they should allow children or old people or women or sick people to seek temporary refuge in Egypt. It would be quite easy. Qatar, mentioning them again, built a lot of prefabricated homes for the World Cup 2 years ago. They have about 1 million housing units that they could airlift to the Sinai across the border. It's not such a big deal for people from Gaza to move temporarily to Sinai. It's the same language, same climate, same food. It's not like a Syrian moving to Sweden, for example. Anyway, so the Israeli military officials told me that, they don't want to upset the Egyptian government, they don't want to upset Sisi. But I'm like, what is this? You are asking to make the war in Gaza almost impossible for Israel. As we've seen, the IDF has been very, very decisive when it comes to fighting the Iranian nuclear threat, Hezbollah in Lebanon and so on. It is bogged down in Gaza precisely because it cannot. No army can fight a battle, try and avoid civilian casualties when the enemy is enmeshed inside civilian infrastructure. So it's an impossible situation. It also leads to terrible international media coverage and reputational damage to Israel because it's viewed wrongly as a war on Palestinian civilians. It's not a war on civilians, but that's how the world sees it.